the flight that never came back. March 12, 1971, Da Nang Air Base, South Vietnam. The morning sun had barely cracked through the low mist over the Dai Nung tarmac when Captain Richard Rick Halden pulled the flight gloves over his fingers. His motions slow and deliberate, like a man memorizing each step in case it was the last time. Around him, the flight deck buzzed with the usual calls and checks, but Rick heard none of it. His mind was locked on the mission, an aerial reconnaissance sweep, along the Laos-Vietnam border, deep into what intelligence called triple canopy, a stretch of jungle, so dense that even satellites couldn't see through. Intelligence had picked up unusual movement in the region, possible anti-aircraft, emplacements, but nothing confirmed. Rick had flown over that area before. It was green, endless, and quiet. Too quiet. As he approached his F-4 Phantom II, its twin engines humming low like a sleeping beast. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Mike Reyes, gave him a short nod. No words. They didn't need any. This was their 42nd mission together. They knew each other's silences. A final clipboard was signed, the canopy lowered, and the aircraft rolled down the runway, wheels lifting from the earth, metal soaring toward the morning sky. No one knew it yet, but that would be the last time anyone saw Phantom 219 or its crew again. Somewhere beyond the clouds, past the border and deep into hostile territory, the signal went dead. No mayday, no radar return, just silence. Minutes stretched into hours, and by nightfall, Phantom 219 was officially listed as missing. And in a small military housing unit outside Da Nang, a young woman named Claire Halden, Rick's wife, sat staring at a rotary phone, willing it not to ring. She had seen the look on the officer's face when he visited last, year after her friend's husband didn't return. She remembered the way he held his hat. She knew that silence was worse than death because it came with hope. And hope, she would learn, could be a cruel thing. Part 2, Letters from the Cockpit. 2 weeks after the disappearance of Phantom 219, the Air Force officially changed Captain Rick Halden's status from missing to missing in action. Claire Halden received the telegram in the early afternoon, plain, emotionless, and bureaucratic. Just a few lines of black ink that shattered a world. But she didn't cry, not then. Instead, she walked into the bedroom they once shared, pulled open the bottom drawer of the cedar dresser, and retrieved a bundle wrapped in a blue silk scarf. Inside were letters, dozens of them, each written in Rick's neat, slanted handwriting. They weren't love letters in the traditional sense. They were snapshots of his soul, confessions made at 35,000 feet, in the cockpit of a war machine. In one, he wrote about how the sky looked like the ocean, so vast it made a man feel invisible. In another, he spoke of the men he flew with, and how their laughter always seemed louder right before a dangerous mission, as if they were trying to laugh a little louder than fear. Claire read them one by one, the pages trembling in her hands, the scent of engine oil and faded cologne clinging faintly to the paper. And then she found the one she could never forget. The last one he wrote before his final flight. Dated March 11th, 1971. If this letter reaches you, Claire, it began, then I didn't make it back. Her breath caught. The ink seemed darker than the rest. Don't let them bury me in pieces. Promise me if I go down, you'll wait. Don't give up. I'll come home one way or another. She folded the page slowly, tears falling silently. Claire pressed it to her chest, not knowing that it would take 30 years, 3 decades of aching. Silence before that promise began, to stir beneath the jungle vines. Part 3, A Widow's Promise. By 1975, the war was over, but for Claire Halden, it never truly ended. While the world moved on, rebuilding and forgetting, she remained anchored to that single day in March 1971, when her husband's name became a footnote on a missing in action list. The military sent her the usual condolences, a folded flag, a ceremonial letter signed by a general who had never met Rick, and a final offer to place his name on a memorial wall. But Claire refused. To her, Rick wasn't a memory to be carved into stone. He was a voice still, echoing through every letter, a presence that filled the empty space beside her in bed, a man who had made her promise not to let go. So she didn't. She turned down remarriage proposals, sold their house, and moved into a quiet cabin near the Oregon coast. where the air smelled like salt and the wind carried secrets. There, she built what others called an obsession, but she called it a mission. Her walls were lined with maps, declassified reconnaissance files, blurry satellite images, and translated Vietnamese. Letters from locals who claimed to have seen ghost planes in the mountains. She learned to read topography like scripture, to write polite but persistent letters to senators and defense departments. Every year on March 12th, she lit a single candle, not for mourning but as a beacon. And every year on that day, she opened Rick's last letter, reread it in full, then placed it back in its scarf, as carefully as if she were tucking in a sleeping child. "If there's any part of me left," he had written, "I'll find my way home." Claire didn't believe in magic, but she believed in promises. And for 30 years, through seasons of doubt and decades of silence, she kept hers, refusing to let Rick Halden be forgotten. Not by the world, not by the war, and certainly not by her. Subscribe for more Wings of Valor.